Derry, Maine, October, 1988. Bill Denbrough helps his little brother Georgie build a paper sailboat, dubbed the SS Georgie. Georgie wants to sail it outside in the pouring rain, but Bill is too sick to join him. Before Georgie goes out to play, the brothers hug each other.
Be careful.
Georgie takes his boat down the street. He chases after it. The boat sails to the end of the road before sinking into the sewer. A pair of yellow eyes appear as he looks into the sewer. Pennywise plays with Georgie before returning his boat. Georgie grabs it, only for Pennywise to grab his arm and sink his mighty teeth into it. The creature rips off Georgie's arm and then starts screaming for Bill before dragging him down to the sewers. 8 months later, June, 1989. Mike Hanlon is threatening to kill a sheep with a nail gun by his grandfather Leroy. Before doing the deed himself, Leroy instructs the boy.
You need to start taking more responsibility around here, Mike.
It's the last day of school. Bill and his companions Richie Tozier, Eddie Kaspbrak, and Stanley, who all work with the Losers Club, are off to start their summer.
How's it work? They sliced him with his dick off, but then Stanley will have nothing left.
Beverly Marsh is a teenager who is smoking in the bathroom. Greta leads a group of slutty girls who taunt her and accuse Bev of being a slut. One girl fills a garbage bag with water and dumps it on Bev, but she covers her head with her journal.
Now you'll smell better. Have a nice summer, Beverly.
Best feeling ever.
Unfortunately, they run into Henry Bauer and his goons. Bill tells Henry he sucks after the punk mocks his friends, and Henry approaches Bill. He walks away, but not before licking his palm and smearing it on Bill's face.
This summer's gonna be a hurt train for you and your faggot friends.
Beverly meets Ben Hascom, a new kid who is about to leave the house on her way out. He is judged on his height and he doesn't have any relatives. Bev signs his yearbook, and Ben seems to have a crush on her.
Stay cool, Ben from Soch class.
You too, Beverly?
When Bill returns home, his father Zach criticizes him for designing a model of the Derry sewer system because he still believes Georgie is only missing. Zach encourages him to accept that Georgie is dead.
But if the storm swept, we should have gone.
He's gone! He's dead! Now take this down before your mother sees it.
Mike goes to the butcher shop to make a delivery. Behind the door to the alley, he hears what sounds like screaming and pounding. The door opens and many shattered hands begin to stretch out. Mike then sees Pennywise, but is almost struck by the Bowers gang in a car. Stan is in the synagogue studying for his bar mitzvah. In the rabbi's office, there is a painting that creeps him out, depicting a woman with a distorted face. The painting falls, and when Stan picks it up, the woman is gone. It appears as the woman with a fanged smile as he turns around. Stan runs away. Ben is at the library researching Derry's past. He discovers that children in Derry have been disappearing under mysterious circumstances for centuries. After a series of books, Pennywise is depicted in the book, as well as a missing boy's head in a tree. Ben is then lured into the basement where he sees the headless boy before being chased out by Pennywise.
Boy!
The Bowers gang assault Ben on his way home. Henry's goons hold him against the bridge railing. Patrick wants to burn Ben with a lighter and bug spray, but Henry wants to carve his name into Ben's stomach. An old couple drives by and notice this but didn't stop, believing it is there because of a red balloon. Henry only cuts an H before Ben kicks him in the nuts and rolls over the bridge and into the woods. The punks chase after Ben. In the meantime, the losers are near the sewers, as Bill has convinced his friends to help him find Georgie. Ben falls into the water near them, and the boys grab him and bring him to safety.
Not every fucking plant is poison ivy, Stanley. It's your breath wafting back into your face. I mean, have you ever heard of listeria? No! What happened to you?
Patrick goes into the sewers to try to catch Ben, who is now separated from his friends. He encounters demonic-looking children who make him run, but he comes to a halt when he comes across a dead end. A slew of red balloons appear before him, and they all pop to reveal Pennywise, who immediately devours Patrick. The boys go to the pharmacy to buy cotton balls and bandages, but they are short on funds. When Beverly encounters the boys, she is there buying tampons. Bev tries to flirt with Mr. Keene, a pharmacist, after hearing their situation. He appears to be a creepy character to her, but she manages to keep him at bay long enough for the boys to steal their supplies and allow her to sneak away some cigarettes. When Bev sees the boys tending to Ben, she goes outside and joins the boys. Beverly goes home to her father, who is an even bigger creep than Mr. Keene. He comes up to his daughter, causing her to run into the bathroom, crying. She then proceeds to trim her hair until it is at a shorter length. The boys are at the quarry ready to jump into the lake, but no one is eager to jump first. Bev shows up and jumps first, leading the others to join. They have fun while swimming and hanging out. Later, Ben tells everyone about Derry's past life.
It's a gym for all the fellas. Play hard to get females get jealous. Food is filling your ate so much.
The history project. Oh, well, when I first moved here, I didn't really have anyone to hang out with.
When Eddie comes across an abandoned house on Neibold Street, Eddie is suddenly attacked by a leper, causing him to run through the house's yard. Pennywise is attempting to lure him toward him as he approaches the fence. Eddie runs under the fence and flees. Bev is in her room with a postcard with a secret admirer's poem on it. Bev is thought to be Bill, but it was actually Ben who wrote it. Bev hears the voices of children from her bathroom. She looks into the sink where the voices are located, and clumps of hair begin reaching out to grab her before a pool of blood pours down from the toilet. Bev is enraged when Mr. Marsh comes in, but he can't see the blood. She looks like a child because of her hair, he says. Bill woke up because of the raindrops on his bed. Bill is walking around the house when he notices Georgie running around. Shocked, he follows Georgie to the basement, which is flooding. Georgie steps out and invites Bill to join him. Pennywise emerges from the water and tries to rescue Bill, but he runs out of the basement. When the kids see Mike Spike and the Bowers gang's vehicle the next day, the punks come down by the creek to confront Mike for being black. Bev throws a rock at Henry's head, triggering a rock-throwing war between the two groups. As Henry is knocked unconscious, Mike runs over to the loser's side, while Vic and Belch run away.
Go blow your dad, you mullet-wearing asshole!
Bill describes what he saw in his house, as the kids walk away with Mike. Eddie defends him after seeing Pennywise. Mike explains what he saw and describes how his old house was burnt down by racial goons, and how his parents died trying to open the door down to his room. Their skin melted to the ground. Richie is the only one who hasn't been haunted, but he admits to being afraid of clowns. The kids go to Bill's garage, where they project a map of Derry over a projector. They learn that the sewers are connected to the Neibold house, where it lives. The projector then begins to work itself out, showing photos of Bill and Georgie with their parents, but with Pennywise's face rising over their mother. They knock the projector over, but it keeps playing until Pennywise emerges from the screen fully and starts grabbing the kids. They manage to get out of the garage before he can harm them. The losers go to the Neibold house to face it head-on. Bill, Richie, and Eddie are all inside the house, while the others are outside as lookouts. The losers are not aware that Henry is watching on them. Possessed by Pennywise upon outside the Neibold house with his face covered in blood, he watched the losers preparing to go inside the house with his sidekicks with cut on their neck, presumably with Henry's new acquired knife. When Pennywise discovers Eddie, he is separated from his friends. He falls through the floor and into the kitchen, breaking his arm. Bill and Richie are able to reach him through 3 doors. They open the first door to find a headless child. Richie is escorted inside a room full of clown dolls by the second door. He sees a coffin with a dummy of himself in it. Pennywise cries out, and he closes it. Richie is being attacked by him, but he runs out of space. Pennywise turns his attention to Eddie, but Bill and Richie rush to him before the clown devours him. Beverly then appears to drive a spear through Pennywise's head, causing him to retreat. Since seeing Eddie's broken arm, his mom discourages the losers from hanging out with him. Bill and Richie are then involved in a fight when Richie claims that this whole pursuit of Georgie has almost killed them. The losers split up because the other boys are too afraid to keep up. Henry, Vic and Belch are both shooting things with his dad's rifle. Belch is told to bring him a cat to shoot. Officer Bow to take the pistol from him. He then shoots the ground around Henry's feet to humiliate him in front of his friends and dismiss him as a slender jerk. Henry sees a red balloon on his mailbox later that day. A knife is embedded in the inside. He goes inside while his father is asleep with the television on. On the screen, a woman with children appears, all encouraging Henry to murder his father. He does so by sticking the knife in his neck and letting him bleed out. The kids on TV, all of its victims then start chanting, "Kill them all, kill them all, kill them all." Beverly's dad is attempting to act on his lust for his daughter, at the Marsh house. She fights him off and goes to the bathroom. Bev whacks Mr. Marsh across the face with a toilet lid, killing him when he comes to her. Pennywise spots her and takes her just as she is about to leave. Bill goes by Bev's house and finds her father dead in the bathroom and sees "You'll die if you try" written on the wall in blood. Bev has been kidnapped by it. Eddie's mother prohibits him from leaving and joining his friends, but he defies her when he confronts her over the placebos. He abandons her and joins his friends.
You get back here! Don't do this to me, Eddie!
The boys go to the Neibold house and find a well where it lives. They squat down a rope, but Henry comes up and assaults Mike before he can go down. He starts pulling the rope up to discourage the boys from regaining control. Henry tries to kill Mike with a nail gun he brought, but Mike fights him off and tries to push him down the well, causing him to die. Stan is attacked by it as the woman in the painting goes further into the well. She eats on his head, but the boys scare it away and comfort a bewildered Stan. All the boys venture further into the well where they find its lair. Under some sort of trance, all the children he's taken are floating up in the dead lights. Bev is found floating by the boys. They pull her down and Ben kisses her, and Ben helps her to get out of the trance. Georgie emerges from the shadows as Bill sees her. Georgie tells Bill that he missed him and was waiting for him to come for him. Bill hugs his brother, but he doesn't know it's Georgie, and he shoots him in the face. His body writhes on the ground until it turns into Pennywise. The clown threatens to kill the children, but they fight him off until he has a hold on Bill. Pennywise gives the others the option to die together or leave him with Bill. Bill encourages them to run, but Richie is the first to retaliate. The kids then start beating Pennywise until he is useless, unable to hurt them because they no longer fear him. Pennywise retreats into the darkness and thus escapes before Bill can strike the deadly blow to the clown's cracked skull. The kidnapped children then float downward. Bill then finds Georgie's raincoat. Georgie is now gone, he admits. Bill is in tears as his friends gather around him to hug him. It is now September. The losers swear a blood oath to return in 27 years if it returns. They hang out for a while before each of them gradually leaves, with only Bill and Bev remaining. She's planning to move to Portland right now. Bill comes up to her and kisses her as she walks away. A small town on the Arctic Circle in Barrow, Alaska, is gearing up for its annual 30 Days of Night, a time in the winter when the sun will not be seen. People who don't want to endure the long hours of darkness are able to travel to Fairbanks or other areas south. As the town prepares, the Strange rows ashore from a larger ship and trudges toward Barrow. Once he arrives, he begins to sabotage the town. He robs and destroys all cell phones, destroys the town's only helicopter, and kills all of the sled dogs. Eben Olson, the sheriff of Barrow, is charged with these offenses. Stella, his ex-wife who moved out of town a while ago, missed the last plane out of town and will have to spend the next 30 days in Barrow. Although they try to distance themselves, she helped Eben with a stranger to subdue and taken to the station house when they confront them in a town diner. The stranger taunts Eben, Stella, Eben's teenage brother Jake, and their grandmother, claiming that death is coming for them from the prison cell. Just then, vampires attack the local telecommunications center and power supply, rendering the town dark and isolated from the outside world. Eben goes to the telecommunications center and finds the operator's head on a pike. Stella and he then drive through town, trying to find the ones responsible for the horrific crime. Meanwhile, the vampires, led by Marlowe, attack the town. Marlowe uses an ancient, guttural language, while the rest of the vampires shriek. Bullets are useless against them unless they are struck in the head, and they kill the bulk of the town, including Eben's grandmother. Those who survive gather in the diner. The vampires attack Eben and Stella, but Bo Brower, the local snowplow driver, saves them. Everyone goes to the abandoned house of someone who had left town earlier that day. The house has a hidden attic where they will be able to hide. Marlowe finds the stranger in the prison and kills him quickly, allowing him to have mercy on him in recognition of his work on behalf of the vampires. In order to preserve modern humanity's belief that vampires are the stuff of bad dreams and nothing more, Marlowe instructs the vampires not to convert anyone into a vampire. Eben, Stella, Jake, and 7 others will be sticking it out in the attic for the next week. They fight about leaving, but most of them remain. Only Wilson and his senile father, Isaac, are left behind. Eben goes out to help a stray survivor and discovers that beheading vampires will kill them. When a blizzard hits, Eben and the others use the whiteout conditions to make it to the grocery store. A young girl vampire assaults them, injuring one of them. The whiteout conditions have ended, preventing them from returning to the abandoned house. Everyone should go to the station house, according to Eben. He will provide a distraction by running to his grandmother's house. She smoked marijuana and has an ultraviolet light system. Eben makes it to the house, starts the generator, and lights up the vampires who have followed him. It hideously engulfs one, forcing Marlowe to kill her. Eben escapes the house, but the vampires are on the run. Bo comes to the rescue once more, killing many of the vampires with his plow. He crashes into a hotel and then incinerates a box of dynamite, attempting to incinerate the vampires. His tactic is fruitless, but it gives Eben the opportunity to make it to the station house. The wounded member of the family transforms into a vampire there. With only a shred of his humanity remaining, he asks Eben to behead him. Eben accepts. 2 more weeks have passed. Stella and Eben notice someone approaching them from across the street. Eben's deputy, Billy Kipka, is there. Eben and Stella make it to Billy's house. He killed his wife and daughters as the vampires attacked, but the pistol jammed before he could commit suicide. Stella and Eben take him back to the station house. They discover that the others have made it to the Utilitator, a power station that controls the oil pipeline, the only structure that still has electricity. Eben, Stella, and Billy are all sneaking towards the Utilitator. Stella tries to rescue a young girl who is being stalked by a vampire. Eben and Billy try to distract the vampire, while Stella takes the child to safety. Billy and Eben are now separated. They all make it to the Utilitator, but a vampire follows Billy. The vampire attacks Billy, ripping into his neck. When the vampire attacks Eben, Billy knocks it into the gears of the Utilitator's pump, disintegrating it, but his hand cut. Eben then kills Billy before he can turn into a vampire. In a few hours, the sun will rise. To hide their tracks, the vampires decide to incinerate the town. Stella alerts Eben that she and the young girl are hiding under an abandoned car, the fires quickly approaching them. Eben, realizing that he cannot defeat the vampires as a human, infuses himself with Billy's infected blood so he can fight them as a vampire. Eben wins a close fight with Marlowe, who is battling a brutal battle. The other vampires disappear as a result of lack of leadership. Stella takes Eben to watch the sunrise. As he is incinerated, she holds him in her arms. In Pasadena, in 1969, a young Mexican couple rushes to the home of medium Sean Sandina. Their son had stolen jewelry from a group of gypsies 3 days earlier, and has been complaining of seeing and hearing things that are not part of this world ever since. Sandina is attempting to assist the boy in a seance, but she and the boy's parents can only watch in horror as the boy is thrown from the balcony by an unseen force before being pulled into hell by demonic hands. The spirituality will encounter this demon again one day.
Nos vamos a encontrar nuevamente. Sí.
40 years later, Christine Brown, a loan officer, desperately needs to be promoted to assistant manager. Christine's boss informs her that the job has come down to her and Stu Rubin. He encourages her to demonstrate that she can take difficult decisions. Christine visits her boyfriend, Professor Clay Dalton. Christine gives Dalton a rare coin she found at the office that was in circulation. Clay wraps it in an envelope and puts it in his bag. Clay's mother calls and tries to set Clay up with a girl she thinks is better for Clay than Christine when she leaves. Christine hears this from the hall and leaves disappointed, afraid that she isn't enough to get what she wants, the job. Christine returns to work and sees Stu bribe Mr. Jacks with Lakers tickets. Mrs. Ganush, an elderly gypsy woman, asks for a third extension on her mortgage later that day because she is having economic difficulties as a result of a disease. Christine refuses Mrs. Ganush's extension to prove herself to Mr. Jack. Mrs. Ganush prostrates herself, begged and kissing the hem of her skirt. Christine panics and shoves the woman away while requesting safety and ridiculing her in public. When Christine tries to approach Mrs. Ganush and try to assault her, Mr. Jacks compliments Christine on her handling of the situation as security guards accompany her out, saying that if she closes another big loan, she will be her assistant manager position. She gets to her car and sees Mrs. Ganush's car parked across from her own. Christine is frightened when she gets in her car and Mrs. Ganush's scarf is blown onto the windshield. Christine turns around to follow the scarf and sees Mrs. Ganush behind her. Mrs. Ganush attacks and the two fight. Christine is able to lock Ganush out of her vehicle. Christine screams, "I beat you, bitch." Mrs. Ganush breaks the window with a cinder block and drags Christine out. Ganush removes a button from Christine's coat and mutters an incantation before reversing the button and disappearing. Clay arrives to drive her home after the police arrive to look at the incident. Christine hears a strange scream on the way and decides she wants to get her fortune told. Clay is pessimistic about the fortune teller's legitimacy and trades jabs with the spiritualist Ram James. Ram claims that hell read her fortune for $60. Ram is disturbed by the demon's mental appearance, which brings him to an end the session. He earns Christine's trust by telling her that he knows about the button.
You work with money, and you've recently lost something. No, you haven't lost anything, but something has been taken from you. A button.
Clay drives Christine home and then leaves to get something from his office. When Clay left, Christine bakes a cake. She sees a picture of her winning a dessert competition as a child, and she is a lot overweight. She crumples up the photo and throws it out. Her gate starts to creak. All the lights go out while still baking, and she sees a silhouette of a goat's head on the wall. Clay returns home. They then contact the psychologist when she insists that no one assaulted her. Christine calms down. After a quick visit from a psychologist, she has a disturbing dream of seeing a fly and being attacked by Ganesh. Christine woke up screaming, alarming Clay. Christine says it was just a dream. Christine is approached by Stu at work about the branch's loan guidelines. As she begins to explain, she has a flashback to Ganesh's visit. But she is met with a bloody nose, which then turns into a hemorrhage that covers Mr. Jack's in blood. Christine leaves the bank, and Stu steals the files for the big loan Christine is working on.
What is with you? I'm so sorry!
After finding the address from Ganesh's papers, Christine goes to the house of Ganesh's granddaughter. Christine says she would like to make it right. Granddaughter welcomes her and tells her to go down the hall to the left. Christine comes into contact with a group of gypsies sitting around eating together and sees that this is the wake of Ganesh. Christine falls on the body, which then rolls and spews embalming fluid all over Christine's face. Christine deserves what is coming for her, according to her granddaughter.
Still going to make everything alright for her? You deserve everything that is coming to you.
Christine returns to Ram. Ram informs her that the Lamia is the demon that is coming for her. Ganesh cursed the butt, and the Lamia comes to steal soul in 3 days. Suspects that a sacrifice to appease the Lamia may be enough to convince the demon not to take her soul. He gives Christine a book on animal sacrifices, but she insists he won't do it. When the Lamia comes for you, you will be surprised at what you will be able to do. Christine returns home and is stalked by the Lamia's shadow. It comes for her and throws her around the room, throwing her against a few walls, before throwing Christine into her dresser. Christine freaks out and grabs a kitchen knife and calls for her kitten. When Clay arrives, Christine is burying her dead kitten. Clay asks Christine why she has blood on her arm, but Christine dismisses it and assures Clay that everything is fine now. They go to Clay's parents' house to eat dinner. Christine gives them a harvest cake that she learned how to make when she was growing up on a farm. She reveals that she does not talk to her mother because her mother became an alcoholic and doesn't want to see anyone after her father's death. Clay's mother is enthralled by this, because her father was also an alcoholic, but she never told anyone. The group enjoys the cake, but Christine begins to see an eyeball in hers. She stabs it and it bleeds, and she fakes putting a piece of cake in her mouth to put on a show, but she then coughs up the fly from her nightmare. Clay's parents, who believe the cake has flies in it, are outraged by this. The Lamia starts to bang on the door, causing Christine to panic. Christine leaves it. Parents tell him he can't help her because she's sick.
Yeah, we got married, but we set up the date.
Oh my god! I hear you! Just leave the hell alone!
She's a sick girl. Let her go.
Christine consults Ram James again, who informs her that there is one person who can help her fight the Lamia, but that this person will only do so for $10,000. She talks to Mr. Jacks to request a $10,000 advance on the assistant manager position, but Mr. Jacks informs her that the loan she was working on fell through because another bank was able to undercut them. He informs her he will have to look at it and then gives Stu the assistant manager position. She leaves the office upset and goes home. Christine immediately purchases everything she has of value to sell, but only receives $3,800. Clay arrives at her house to find her savoring a pint of ice cream. He tells her that he swore he would do everything possible to protect her. Clay drives her to Sean Sandana's house, and Christine goes in alone. Sean wants to hold a seance to bring the spirit into the physical world in order to kill it. Sean's assistant brings a goat into the room so they can push the Lamia into it. Christine is told by Sean that once Sean is possessed, she must hold her hand on the goat to pull the Lamia out. The meeting begins with Sean, Ram, Christine, and the assistant. An incantation to bring it forth, but they do manage to summon a group of lost souls. Sean banishes them before realizing that the Lamia is approaching. Sean is present in the Lamia and he addresses the group. It informs them that it will take Christine to hell, where it will feast on her soul. Christine grabs Sean's hand and pushes it against the goat. Christine goes to help the assistant. He is the new host. Ram is knocked out by a chair. It erupts into flames and dances over the table. It tells Christine to be savoring on her soul. Sean breaks out of her trance and uses a powerful incantation to banish the Lamia from the seance. She collapses and dies immediately after.
You must banish the spirits!
He informs her that the Lamia has not been banished and that Sean's death shows that nothing can stop her from being banished. Ram informs her that the Lamia is coming for the button's owner, and that her only wish is to make a gift of it. He takes out an envelope and seals it with the button. Clay's car comes to a halt and Christine gets up and tells him it's over. They almost hit an old man, who appears to Christine as Ganesh, and the old man warns Christine that she is going to hell. Christine drops the envelope with the button. When Christine can't find it, she grabs the envelope with a circular shape inside. Clay drops her off at home and tells her to meet him at the train station so they can go to his parents' cabin. She goes to a late-night diner and drinks a ton of caffeine and decides who to give the button to. She calls Stu and tells him to meet her, otherwise she'll tells Mr. Jacks that Stu gave her loan papers to the other bank. He meets her and asks her not to tell Mr. Jacks. She is about to give him the button, but he refuses. Christine asks Ram if the cursed object can be transferred to the dead. Ram claims that although gypsies send good luck wishes to the dead, formal offerings are made. He says, yes, digs up Ganesh. She takes the envelope, makes a formal offer, and shoves it down Ganesh's throat. Christine almost drowns when the rain fills the grave, but she makes it through. Christine goes to meet Clay at Los Angeles Union Station the next morning, and they have agreed to spend a relaxing weekend in Santa Barbara. She is sporting a beautiful new coat and comes up to Clay. Clay is on the platform, checking his ring box and mentally preparing for a proposal. He takes note of the new coat and asks Christine what happened to her old one, and Clay informs her that it was unheard and gives her the envelope with the button in it. She mistakenly picked up rare coin she gave Clay. Christine panics and steps backwards from Clay, falling onto the train tracks, and as the train approaches, the ground starts cracking around her, and Christine is brutally dragged to hell, screaming to Clay for help. Clay frozen in fear, as his girlfriend disappears.
Oh my god! Hey! Hey, you! Help me!
There is no brain damage. To be honest, I've never seen anything like it.
I want it. Leave me alone!
Renee and Josh Lambert, along with their 3 children, recently moved into a new home. Renee looks through a family photo album with her son, Dalton, one morning, and asks why there are no photos of Josh when he was a child. Renee explains that he has always been a camera-shy guy and hated taking photos of himself. After hearing sounds upstairs, Dalton sees the attic door open and goes to investigate. As he enters the room, he tries to climb a ladder to turn on the light, but falls when the ladder cracks. As he falls to the ground, he seems to stare in horror at the dimness, as if looking at something terrifying. Renee and Josh put him to bed and told him not to play in the attic because it is off limits. Dalton does not awaken from his sleep the next day. Renee and Josh rush him to the hospital, where he is in an inexplicable coma, according to the doctors.
Dalton! What happened? What hurts? What hurts?
Honey, you cannot come up here, okay? It's off limits now. Okay.
Yeah, you may be a superhero, buddy, but
You're not invincible. Dalton, come on, buddy. Gotta get ready for school. Dalton?
Dalton.
Dalton! There is no brain damage. Technically, yes, he's in a coma, but there's no brain trauma or infection. To be honest, I've never seen anything like it.
Dalton is being back home after 3 months but still in coma. Shortly after, disturbing events begin to occur. Renee is introduced to a sound on the baby monitor that says, "I want it now." Renee's youngest son, Foster, says he doesn't like it when Dalton walks around at night, and a strange and frightening man in her infant daughter's bedroom, a bloody handprint on Dalton's bed. Renee informs Josh of the events, but when she is assaulted by a strange man that night, she begs Josh and the family quickly relocates to another house.
Want it?
I'm scared, Mom.
Scared of what?
Dalton. I don't like when he walks around at night.
Josh? Mary was right there. I want to leave. Please help me.
Okay.
The supernatural happenings in the new house continue to occur, such as a strange, dancing boy, and will soon become more terrifying. Lorraine, Josh's mother, recalls having a strange dream of going inside Dalton's room in the night and seeing something standing in the corner, and when asked what do you want, Dalton, it says. Lorraine sees a red-faced figure standing behind Josh, who roars at her, and Dalton is then brutally assaulted in his bedroom.
It was a visitor. I said, what do you want? It said Dalton. I know someone who can help.
Lorraine is compelled to contact Elise Reiner, a friend who specializes in the investigation of paranormal activity. Elise, her family and their crew enter Dalton's room, and Elise sees and describes a figure to one of her two assistants, who draws a black figure with a red face and dark hollow eyes on the ceiling of Dalton's room, the same figure Lorraine had seen before in the house. Dalton has the ability to astral project while asleep, and he has been doing it since he was a young boy, Elise explains to Renee and Josh. Dalton is in a comatose state because he has recklessly crossed too far into different spiritual realms. He believes the forecasts are dreams, and has thus been lost in a land called the Further, a home for the tormented souls of the dead. Although Dalton's spirit is present in this other world, he has only left a lifeless body. The tormented souls seek another chance at life in Dalton's state, while there are others, possibly the old woman and the frightening man, who are more aggressive in using him, and then there's the red-faced figure, who has been revealed to be a demon, who uses Dalton for a more malicious purpose. However, for a spirit to consume a body, a period of time and effort is required. Josh is initially skeptical, but he is relieved when he discovers that Dalton had been drawing images that mimic the demonic figure Elise depicted. They hold a session to try to communicate with their son, but Dalton appears, and the demon uses Dalton's body to distract the group, as well as other entities who want Dalton's body.
We are calling out to you, Dalton. Can you hear us? Answer us. Who's there? Who will hurt you, Dalton? The man, fire on his face. Be quiet. They'll hear you. They heard you. Oh my God. Mommy and Daddy. Help. Help. Help.
Dalton? But I did find this on the video. Take a look. I went through it. Frame by frame by frame.
Oh my God.
Elise calls Lorraine after the session, and the two reveal to the couple that Josh can also astral plan and was terrorized by an evil spirit during his childhood. Lorraine shows them pictures from Josh's childhood, showing them a shadowy old lady behind him. The closer Josh's shadowy woman comes to him until she is inches away from him, demonstrating his fear of photos. Josh agrees that Elise's ability to find and help return Dalton's soul is a gift. Elise and Josh sits in a chair and puts him in a trance to prepare to astral project and find Dalton. Josh awakes to find that he has astral projected, seeing himself asleep in the chair as well as the others in the room. In an attempt to find his way to Dalton, he ventures outside in a misty emptiness. After confronting a boy who points him back to a house, the same one where the Lamberts left, he proceeds, only to encounter a family who is shot in the living room by a strange smiling female member of the family.
He's in.
Hello? Hello? Wait. I'm looking for my son, Dalton. Dalton! Where's my son? Tell me where my son is. Please.
Josh makes his way to the attic, where he notices a red door, the same one drawn in Dalton's pictures. Josh notices the aggressive man in their son's bedroom who approaches him before he can enter. Josh opens the red door after defeating him. Inside, there is the further and the red-faced demon's lair. Josh notices a sobbing Dalton, tied to the floor, as he enters a cavernous red room. Josh frees his son, but the demon has discovered his presence and assaulted them. Josh and Dalton flee the demon's lair in search of their physical bodies, with the demon in tow. Josh confronts a spooky old lady who appears to be inside his house just before the two awaken. As he yells for her to run away from him, claiming that he isn't afraid of her, she retreats into the shadows. Moments later, Josh and Dalton awaken, just as all the spirits vanish.
You? What do you want from me? You can get away from me. Get away from me! Leave me alone!
Please, please, follow my voice.
Get the hell away from me!
Please, Josh, please, come back.
Leave me alone!
Renee, Dalton, and Lorraine chat in the kitchen as Elise and Josh pack up from their long night. Elise receives pictures from his childhood from Josh, and as she takes them from his hands, she senses something and snaps a picture of Josh. He screams at her, claiming that he doesn't like to be photographed, and leaps on her before strangling her to death. Renee hears Josh yelling and enters the room to find Elise dead and Josh gone. She looks for Josh and discovers that everyone is gone, and the house is dead silent. Renee looks and comes across her camera. Renee, seeing a photograph of the shadowy old woman in it. Elise's old and dirty hand and nails were seen by Elise, implying she had possessed him. Renee's face is shattered as Josh puts his hand on her, saying, "Renee, I'm right here."
You showed me a new world.
No, I didn't. You've been there before, remember?
Guess I don't need these anymore. What?
Nothing.
All right. Why did you do that? When you know how I feel about that. Why? 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 Why?
Can you watch him, Lorraine?
Sure.
Elise.
Renee, I'm right here.